Hey guys, Marsegan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so I've had a lot of people asking me in comments on the streams and stuff like that about the New Year Step Up banner that will be releasing very, very soon on Global. Last year it did in fact drop on New Year's Day. It was like 2 AM, I think, so it's slightly earlier than the usual banner time. Or is it, actually, does it line up with the JP release time? Because I know, depending on like PST, 2 AM's like 10 AM UK time, so that is actually still a little bit out of whack. But yeah, normally it drops on New Year's Day, sometimes at an odd time, but New Year's Day, I guess, makes sense, right, for the New Year Dokkan Festival. A lot of people have asked me about this banner, what units we could expect to see on here, and what's very interesting is I started to get everything set up for this video, like bringing up all the pages, trying to find, like, you know, looking at the units that were on here and then matching them up to their counterparts from this year. And there's definitely some very interesting things to note that we could see really changing the format of this banner, because for those of you who've been around for a couple of years, this banner format has changed quite a few times, right? We used to get like mono leaders, then they started introducing the 120 leaders and all that kind of stuff. Obviously they then started to introduce LRs. I think the first time I remember summoning on it, it was only like the final step was where you got a guaranteed LR, right? And I remember one year, I think it was when I finally got the LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku. He was my first Rainbow Summonable LR, because I think I pulled him on 2 of the 3 rounds on the New Year's banner where the final step was a guaranteed LR. And back then there was only, what, like maybe 10 to 15 LRs in the game. So we saw some changes again last year. If we look at the format as it was from last year's banner, we get a Super or Extreme class leader as the first step, but these are all category leaders. Aside from, I guess, Rose and Vegeta, right? Because they are just straight up Super or Extreme with the Rainbow Team leads. But these guys are all category leads, right? So the 120 leads, 70% leads, they're not here anymore for these guaranteed steps, which is good, of course, because, you know, they're all super outdated now. And then we have a potential LR on step 2. These are, of course, the older ones, including the OGs, right, with the 70% leads, like Broly, Trunks, Gohan, etc. And then we move on. There's a couple of the extra ones here, like Full Power Frieza, Cell. We move on to step 3, which is another Super or Extreme class category leader. And this is where we see some of these, like, older Golden Week units, older Saiyan Day units. Some guys in here, none of which particularly crazy anymore, of course. Janemba and Pycon were New Year's units. And this is where you can kind of see, when we look back at these big events over this year, where this could start to get a little bit interesting, because we move down another step to Super and Extreme class category leaders again. And here we have some units that actually came out during that year, including like the Saiyan Day unit. We got Golden Week units on here. The New Year's units from like the previous Dokkan Fest for JP. Obviously, these guys come out at a different time on Global. I should bear in mind as well, we are looking at the global version of the banner, and I had to double check when I brought up a couple of these units, because like when I saw Boo and Goku on here, it's like, oh, you know, these guys were the New Year Dual Dokkan Fest the year before Gohan and Piccolo for JP and Global, because it was the same time. But then remember, for Global, they didn't release at that time because New Year's wasn't a same time celebration back then. And then when we get to the final step, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting, because on this final step, a potential LR character is guaranteed. But when we take a look back and we see where some of these LRs come from, some of these LRs are, like, for example, the Krillin and Gohan and like the Exchange Vegeta. These guys are part 2 LRs from the Worldwide Celebration, which obviously when we moved into the cooler Worldwide Celebration, it was the first time where we had Carnival LRs instead of Yellow Coin LRs. So of course that will beg the question, will Carnival LRs be on this banner? Because otherwise there's a lot of slots here that are essentially they don't exist anymore in terms of Yellow Coin LRs, right? Because here are the part 2 LRs from the 7th anniversary, the Great 8 Vegeta and the Kaioken Goku, but for the 8th anniversary, the part 2 LRs were Carnival LRs again. So, going to be very interesting. Now, what I decided to do for this video, rather than try and work out every single unit that will be in every single tier, I think the thing that most people really want to know is who are the newest units that will be in this banner. And that pretty much encompasses like the final 2 tiers, right? Who are the characters that we will see in these tiers, right? So, obviously, if we start off with where we have this, you know, step 4 with the Gohan and Goku and Cell, we obviously have the Golden Week characters from this year, the 23rd World Tournament Goku and the Piccolo Jr. So these guys being on the banner would be very, very good, right, for a step 4 pick. They are both very strong units even now. Even with the release of Goku and Hirudegarn on JP, these guys are still easily considered top 5 like TURs in the game. So these guys being on the step up banner would obviously be very, very good. Now, obviously, take all of this stuff with a pinch of salt, but I've tried to base this on where units released in the previous year, right? Like if we just very quickly open up the Goku page, he was the Golden Week unit for 2022, and he was on the step up banner in step 4. So it makes sense for the Golden Week unit from 2023 to be on step 4 version of this banner, right? That makes sense. So then when we get onto the Raditz slot, Raditz's time slot in the next year was Kale. Then, of course, the next slot on the banner after that was the Saiyan Day unit, which, of course, a very big catch here for a lot of people is the physical god Goku. Again, still one of the best TURs in the game. So this step 4 for the New Year Step Up banner is actually already looking quite juicy for anyone who's missing some of these characters, right? Actually having units that are still potentially top 5 TURs in the game on the Step Up banner is obviously pretty good in terms of value. Then we start to drop off a little bit. I'm not going to go back to the banner every time, but obviously I'm going step by step replacing these guys like as we go along, right? So after God Goku, we have the STR 17s. This is where we start to take a little bit of a dip. Of course, these guys not really great on release. You know, they've had some buffs recently, the AGL 13 EZA and stuff like that, but until we start getting, you know, more of this content against super class enemies, these guys are, I mean, even then they're not going to suddenly be super good, right? But these guys a little bit less value. Then we have the Yamcha. Yamcha's still very good, still very usable in a lot of content because he has all the dodge. He also has a very good leader skill, right? Earthbred Fighters is a very strong team. Having Turtle School as one of the 30% means that you get a lot of setups where you can use a lot of really good units like Goku's and stuff like that. So his team is still very good, and he as a unit is still very solid as well. So Yamcha being on here is another solid get. Then we have the Resurrection of F Blues. Now, these guys are actually one of the more questionable options, I think, because they don't have a direct counterpart on the banner. So we're going to move them to the end, and then we'll come back to them. So we have Kid Goku, Path to Power Kid Goku. He's a direct replacement with his time slot for another character that appears on the Step Up last year. He's still a unit that can be very, very useful. Nowadays, he's kind of like a 3rd slot floater for a lot of teams, but can definitely be very good, getting those 7 orbs, providing damage reduction to the team. So he's another solid unit to have on there. Tech Bardock, another unit that is pretty much a direct replacement. So I think we will see him on the Step Up banner for sure. He's a unit that's maybe outdated a little bit now, but can still be pretty strong. And then we move on to, now this is where it gets a little bit questionable, because Pan is kind of in the same spot as these guys, right? They weren't out, so they weren't on the previous Step Up banner, so they should be on here somewhere. Will they be on Step 4? I mean, they don't have a direct trade-off because some of these units were newer than those time slots. However, the problem is, with characters like the Buu and Goku, they of course were characters that were New Year's for JP and then released in April on Global. But this year, of course, New Year, well, I say technically it was last year, New Year was the superhero celebration that was shared by both versions, and we got Dokkan Fest LRs, which means technically we have to take these 2 units out of the banner. So, because this step 4, I could almost bet money, is not going to be Piccolo and Gohan, right? So these guys just get removed, and that leaves 2 spaces on the banner. And that's why I looked for who are these other Dokkan Fest exclusives that haven't yet, you know, been featured in one of these slots. and that is where we could potentially see units like Pan and the Resurrection of F Blues. They could, however, fall into this previous slot as well. They could be on step 3, but one other unit that stands out as well, two other units that stand out that are released at a bit of a weird scheduling that could easily fill the place of Goku and Buu on this step for step 4 is the Gammas, right? Because they came out in their own sort of weird time slot, added in the build up to the superhero celebration. They obviously came out on global, like, what was it, like a week after? Yeah, 8 days after they came out on JP. Still a very odd decision. I don't know why they didn't just drop them same time, but they came out in a weird time slot where the previous years no other unit had really released in that slot for global. So these guys could quite easily fill the space on the banner for the Goku and Buu, since we did not get the New Year's Dual Dokkan Fest later on in the year in 2022. We actually got it for, well, technically it wouldn't have been, if we'd stuck to the same time schedule as normal, we wouldn't have got Gohan and Piccolo for New Year's. We would have got them in April. And then, of course, that would make things even more confusing for where their position on the potential step-up banner would be. So when we look at step 4, that is essentially where I think these guys are going to end up coming into play. And then we'll take a look at some of the LRs now for step 5. So as I said at the start, step 5 is where it starts to get a little bit more confusing, because we have characters that have been essentially replaced by Carnival LRs. So some of the things that we know we can definitely see in this final step in terms of the direct exchanges with time slots of LR releases that were on step 5 last year will be characters like Int Fusion Zamasu. He's a unit that is still usable. It's just, unfortunately, with the whole debacle of the new tech Fusion Zamasu having the same name despite being the half corrupted version, this guy essentially gets relegated to being like a 3rd slot floater on that team, which, I mean, he could still be good on that team in that role. It's just ideally not where he wanted to be, right? He was always like a slot 2 unit, had some pretty decent performance, but, you know, he's not the worst get in the world if you were to get him for your LR, but definitely not the one we would be looking for, I suppose. AGL Golden Frieza, with the way he was delayed, like, you know, that the LR that drops in that kind of time slot on JP always ends up getting pushed to a weird time on global. We're already seeing that now with, you know, where the heck is Omega Shenron, right? So Golden Frieza should be on the final step for the guaranteed LR. Then we have the BULMA, because if we take a look back at the banner, the Tech, Goku, and Gohan were the Golden Week LR from 2022. So BULMA being the Golden Week LR for 2023, that makes her probably one of the highest value targets for the step-up banner. When you get to the final step, you will have the potential to get BULMA. Now, again, like I say, take this with a pinch of salt, but the Golden Week 2022 unit was on the banner last year, so the Golden Week 2023 unit should be on the banner this year. And then we also have the AGL Kid Buu. I believe his time slot from last year, it was the physical Goku and Piccolo. So if they were on the banner last year, then Kid Buu, I did say Kid Buu, didn't I? It's my brain, it's the meme, the LR Kid Buu, one day he will come into existence, but no, LR Super Buu. He should be on step 5 of the banner for the LR step-ups. He's a unit I mentioned in the video. We did the TURs yesterday, Dokkan Fest exclusives yesterday. The list of W or L releases for LRs will be coming out today. I'm not sure which one's coming out first, actually. This one might be coming out first. So we talked about him in that video a little bit. He was good on release, but just didn't really have a team. And now with the release of 21 and him actually having a 200% leader, he's actually a really good option for that team for certain events. And dude can put out some numbers. So if you get him on step 3 of the step-up banner, even though there's potentially another LR you would have wanted more, he's still a very solid unit. So I think that is pretty cool. And then this is where we start to get onto the question I posed at the beginning of the video, which is, what are they going to do about all of these time slots that were or have now been replaced by Carnival LRs? Because we talked about the worldwide LRs and the anniversary LRs, but even this time slot here with the future Gohan and Trunks, for global, that release was where have I put him? There he is. That release was this guy right here, the Carnival LR Goku. And then, of course, as we've already said, the Worldwide Celebration LRs from 2022 were Carnival LRs, not Yellow Coin LRs, Birdku and Metal Cooler. And then, of course, the anniversary LRs, instead of the Great Ape Vegeta and Kaioken Goku yellow coin, were the Kai Goku and the Int Gohan. So that raises a huge question of how they're going to handle this final step of the banner, because if they don't add those Carnival LRs into here, this final step on the banner is really not going to be that great, right? You're going to have Golden Frieza, Zamasu, AGL Super Buu, and then a rehash of some of these guys, all LRs older than them, essentially. And then, honestly, that makes that final step of the banner, I feel like, overall, have way less value. So, if we see the Carnival LR get added, that would be pretty awesome. In fact, does it show on here the coins that you get for... It is red coins, even though there's LRs on the banner. That would be really interesting, because you'd be getting red coins for doing a summon like step that essentially has Carnival exclusive LRs. Very, very strange. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section, because like I say, if they don't put these Carnival LRs on the banner, then basically we're just missing out on those slots, and we're going to end up with LRs like these guys on there, but then all the other LRs in step 5 are just older than them, right? Now Bulma obviously being on there is still a massive W, but it's going to be very strange without those guys on there. And if they do add the Carnival LRs into this final step, that actually adds a huge amount of value. Like for me, as somebody who is on, you know, more of the whale side, been playing the game for like 7 years at this point, I have every LR in this image, like Rainbow already, except actually I think Great Ape Vegeta I might be missing like one copy. And then when it comes to these other LRs that we've talked about so far, like I have all of these guys Rainbow. Now, some of the older Carnival LRs that have returned, I do have these guys Rainbow, but like if these guys were on the banner, my luck during the anniversary was not particularly great, and these guys won't return for Global potentially until the anniversary. So this could be my opportunity to pick these guys up, but only if I get them as one of the guaranteed LRs for step 5. So I don't know if that would be enough to tempt me into summoning, but these guys actually being back on that banner would be pretty crazy, because someone will have to remind me. I don't think when the step up banner comes out, all of the units on the step up banner are available with coins, because I remember we had that year, actually I think it was this year, where, no, it was the year before, right, where Broly, as the previous Saiyan Day unit, was available in the step-up banner, but he hadn't actually returned to the game yet for Global since Saiyan Day, but he wasn't available to buy with coins from the shop. So I'm pretty sure that with the step-up banner, they don't add all of these units into the coin shop to buy, which means if they do put these guys in step 5 on the final step of the banner, the only way to get them will be to do the steps and then potentially get them at the very end. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you think they will add Carnival LRs into this final step? Otherwise, I think, like I said, we're going to get a very interesting looking step 5, which may have a lot less value than previous years based on the meta. I mean, like the part 2 LRs we talked about are still, Golden Frieza still very usable, Bulma still one of the best units in the game, Super Buu still pretty good, but you know, if those are like the best units in that final step, I think that would put a lot of people off. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Are you planning to summon on the New Year Step Up banner? Who would you like to see in that 4th and 5th step? And who would you like to pull as your guaranteed units? Let me know down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.